Shut the up. I don't give a dude. Look at this. Look at this. He's fighting a professional boxer.
After the news that Jake Paul was stepping away from his fight with Mike Tyson, things exploded online. It felt like the whole situation hit a sudden wall, leaving everyone surprised. Some joked that Jake finally found a way out, while others saw it coming. Joe Rogan wasted no time commenting he had long argued that the fight was a risky idea and that taking on Tyson was no small challenge. Many fans turned against Jake the moment he accepted the match, especially after some of his remarks about Tyson and his family. Rogan, however, has criticized the Paul brothers for years. He has consistently questioned their role in combat sports, arguing that their rise is more about fame and profit than genuine passion or skill. In his view, they often treat fighting as entertainment rather than a serious discipline. Rogan's criticism has been blunt and relentless. He has labeled them opportunists, suggesting that their involvement in boxing is driven by clout rather than dedication to the sport. Whether you agree or disagree, his perspective has shaped much of the public debate around their presence in the fighting world.
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's going to continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not going to be that good.
One of the strongest moments was when Joe Rogan called Jake Paul the biggest manipulator in boxing, and honestly, he has a point. Jake's rise in the sport has been incredibly fast, but Rogan and many others argue it feels like a carefully planned setup. His opponents often appear handpicked in ways that make victory more likely, as if the deck is stacked. Rogan finds this troubling because it gives the impression of strategy over genuine competition. The criticism goes beyond personal dislike. Rogan believes Jake's approach undermines boxing's integrity by fighting non-boxers or athletes far past their prime. By keeping his win record clean in these kinds of matchups, Jake risks misleading fans about his actual abilities and disrespecting the tradition of the sport. Even figures like Floyd Mayweather Jr. have echoed similar concerns about selective matchmaking and the business-driven side of modern boxing.
Mike Tyson is the best heavyweight of all time. I don't think anybody fucks with him.
Joe Rogan has consistently criticized Jake Paul for fighting former MMA fighters, YouTubers, and retired athletes instead of active professional boxers. To Rogan, it feels like building a big house on a weak foundation, flashy but unstable, and he refuses to ignore it. Through his podcast, he has analyzed Jake's fight history, pointing out inconsistencies and questioning whether the wins truly reflect boxing skill. Rogan even positions himself as a kind of watchdog for boxing's integrity, arguing that the sport deserves genuine competition. Critics claim that accusations of staged or manipulated fights are piling up. They argue that Jake's unbeaten record looks impressive on paper but may not reflect meaningful challenges. One widely discussed example was his April 17, 2021 fight against Ben Askren, an MMA specialist better known for wrestling than striking power. The bout ended in a first-round knockout, and skeptics including Rogan viewed it as a low-risk matchup rather than a true test. Similarly, when Jake faced Tyron Woodley on August 29, 2021 and again in a rematch on December 18, 2021, both ending in knockouts, doubts persisted. Woodley was a former UFC champion but not a traditional boxer, and critics argued that selecting opponents from other combat disciplines inflated Jake's record without proving his boxing depth. Rogan has spoken about this repeatedly on the Joe Rogan Experience, comparing some of Jake's matchups to padding stats in an easy video game mode. According to Rogan, choosing opponents who are past their prime or outside professional boxing creates a misleading narrative for fans and weakens the sport's competitive credibility. Whether one agrees or disagrees, the debate continues over how modern celebrity boxing intersects with entertainment and athletic legitimacy.
And it was an execution.
That Jake Paul would survive against the Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier.
Joe Rogan has made his position clear. He believes Jake Paul is gaming the system for fame and money, transforming boxing into something closer to a spectacle than a traditional sport. On a May 15, 2022 episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan intensified his criticism, targeting the marketing hype that paints Jake as a boxing prodigy. He argued that real fighters earn respect through years of demanding competition, not by selecting opponents that pose minimal risk. Rogan's commentary has kept public debate alive, encouraging fans to examine Jake's career with skepticism rather than blind admiration. When news surfaced on March 10, 2024 that Jake would face Mike Tyson in an upcoming bout, reactions were extreme. Supporters of both fighters celebrated what they saw as a dream matchup, while many boxing purists dismissed it as more show than substance. Critics questioned the motives behind the fight and whether it truly represented competitive sport or entertainment-driven promotion. Rogan was quick to respond, drawing comparisons to Tyson's earlier performances and suggesting that hype often overshadows genuine athletic assessment. His argument remained consistent: boxing should prioritize skill and merit rather than marketing narratives. Whether one agrees or disagrees, the debate highlights broader tensions between traditional sports values and modern celebrity-driven combat events.
If he's 55, that's still Mike Tyson.
Joe Rogan, known for his straight-talking style, didn't hold back. He argued that the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson felt suspicious, almost like a publicity stunt rather than a genuine sporting contest. Rogan suggested it would generate huge viewership and profit but lacked the authenticity of a traditional boxing match. In his view, it resembled more of a spectacle than a serious athletic showdown. During an interview with ESPN on March 12, 2024, Rogan expanded on his skepticism. He described Jake as a marketing genius and controversy magnet but questioned his standing as a true boxer. According to Rogan, the Tyson matchup seemed driven by headlines and financial incentives rather than competitive merit. His remarks echoed broader concerns that celebrity boxing prioritizes entertainment value over athletic depth. Rogan continued criticizing the setup in later appearances, including an April 2, 2024 episode of his podcast. He called the event a media circus engineered to spark buzz and maximize revenue, arguing that Jake's limited boxing resume made the challenge questionable. From Rogan's perspective, the fight leaned heavily on hype and personality rather than genuine sporting significance. Reports even suggested that Rogan reached out to Jake privately around March 15, 2024 to offer advice. According to sources, he warned that facing Tyson could be extremely dangerous despite the former champion's age. Rogan reportedly emphasized Tyson's enduring power and experience, comparing the matchup to confronting a formidable force with years of combat wisdom. His message, if true, reinforced his belief that the fight carried risks beyond its promotional appeal.
If I was Jake Paul right now, I would be shitting my pants.
But Joe Rogan didn't keep his concerns private. On the March 18, 2024 episode of The Joe Rogan Experience, he addressed Jake Paul directly, stressing that his warning came from genuine worry rather than just his usual critiques of boxing culture. Rogan argued that the matchup with Mike Tyson carried real risks. In a later interview with MMA Fighting on March 20, 2024, he expanded on his thoughts. Tyson might be older, but his power and experience still made him dangerous. One wrong move, Rogan said, could lead to serious injury. Words that carried weight given his background in combat sports. Rogan felt a responsibility to speak up, believing that high-stakes fights demand honest discussion about the risks involved. However, it seemed his message didn't land. On March 22, 2024, Jake posted a video on his YouTube channel brushing off the concerns and projecting confidence about his readiness to face Tyson. Rather than easing Rogan's worries, the response only fueled further frustration. During the March 25, 2024 episode of his podcast, Rogan expressed exasperation, doubling down on his belief that the fight prioritized spectacle over thoughtful consideration of the dangers involved.
I think that Mike Tyson is the best heavyweight of all time. I don't think anybody fucks with him.
Joe Rogan went above and beyond, critics say, trying to steer Jake Paul away from what Rogan viewed as a dangerous and misguided path. But Jake, in Rogan's view, remained focused on fame and financial opportunity, ignoring warnings about the risks of facing Mike Tyson. Rogan even joked half-seriously that he might start a podcast series about how not to get your face rearranged by Mike Tyson, highlighting his belief that the matchup could end badly. Meanwhile, Tyson's health became a central topic in early 2024. In a January 12 interview, Tyson revealed struggles with back problems and joint pain that disrupted his training schedule. Given his age and the physical demands of preparing for a professional fight, these issues raised concerns among fans and analysts. Rogan reacted with deep respect and worry during his January 15 podcast episode, emphasizing Tyson's legacy and the importance of prioritizing his well-being. He praised Tyson as one of the greatest heavyweight fighters in history while acknowledging that time and health challenges are unavoidable realities. Reports later noted that Rogan even visited Tyson at his Las Vegas home after news of an ulcer flare-up on June 10, 2024. According to sources, the visit was meant as a gesture of support and friendship, an effort to check on Tyson personally and offer encouragement. Rogan's actions contrasted sharply with what critics described as Jake's more business-driven approach to the fight, focusing on promotion and potential earnings rather than health concerns. Tensions reached a peak when news broke on June 15, 2024 that Jake Paul had withdrawn from the fight. Major outlets, including ESPN, reported the cancellation, triggering widespread reactions across social media and the sports world. Fans who had anticipated the matchup expressed disappointment, while commentators debated what the decision meant for both fighters. Rogan's response was immediate and intense. On an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, he condemned the move, calling it a cowardly decision and arguing that it disrespected fans and the sport itself. Rogan's criticism centered on the idea that the cancellation reflected a pattern of prioritizing hype over genuine competition. He accused Jake of abandoning the fight after building massive public interest, describing the decision as a betrayal of boxing's integrity. According to Rogan, the fallout reinforced his long-held concerns about celebrity-driven matchups. Whether or not the fight ultimately occurs in the future, the debate continues about the balance between entertainment, athletic legitimacy, and the risks inherent in high-profile combat sports. In one of his harshest critiques, Joe Rogan argued that Jake Paul had made a mockery of boxing. Rogan insisted that boxing is not a spectacle but a sport with deep traditions and genuine athletes, and he claimed that Jake's decision to withdraw from the matchup proved he lacked the commitment and respect required at that level. His remarks were unusually intense, reflecting his belief that the cancellation undermined the integrity of the sport. Rogan continued his criticism, describing Jake as someone who talks big but fails to follow through when the stakes rise. In Rogan's view, pulling out of the fight with Mike Tyson revealed a lack of courage and seriousness about boxing. He framed the withdrawal as a betrayal of what boxing represents: competition, discipline, and respect for opponents. For Rogan, the decision reinforced his long-standing concerns about celebrity-driven matchups and hype overshadowing genuine athletic achievement. Whether one agrees or disagrees with Rogan's perspective, the debate highlights broader questions about modern boxing and the role of high-profile entertainment in sports. Some see celebrity bouts as a fresh way to attract new audiences, while others argue they risk diluting the sport's competitive essence.